Well, yeah, like I found that people that may have a predisposition already, like you may not see it obviously, in their behavior.
Right.
Like for instance, in this kid's case, when the parents had split up, he felt it and he carried it, even though he didn't
Right.
show it to us.
Right.
We were just his friends, and at the time,
Right.
what do we know?
Right.
But obviously, that was affecting enough
Yeah.
that when you introduced a drug into the mix,
Mm-hmm.
that just pushed it over the limit.
Mm-hmm. It's true. One of the people that I read early in another person that I read another influence about in terms of drugs was a research psychiatrist named John Lilly. Did you ever hear of John Lilly's work?
No.
Center of the Cyclone. What
I have.
you have.
I've read it. Yeah.
You've read it. So, right, he isolated himself in an isolation tank, right, and took LSD to explore his mind. Well, what he discovered, the essence of his book, at least from my point of view, was whatever you believe to be true is true, or you make it become true. Okay? And so the mind creates belief systems, and then you act in accord with that belief system, and then you find that you create the world which validates your belief system. My position is we all do that, not to the extent that Lilly did it with ketamine and LSD and other things that he ingested, but we all have these basic belief systems which we then act in accord with, and then we prove to ourselves that we're right. Okay?
Of course.
The movie Altered States
Altered States.
loosely was based on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we do that every day anyways, because
We all do it.
we whatever we have in our subconscious mind, whether it's our we're a smoker, we're a drinker, we're whatever, that's part of the habit problems that we all have.
Yes.
And we all carry them to some degree. Now,
Right.
if we were able to tap into the subconscious mind anytime we wanted to, and able to take them out, then we wouldn't be in the kind of mess that we're in most of the time.
Well, that's an interesting segue into the emotional freedom techniques, okay, and behavioral kinesiology that some of us use to tap in to those belief systems, okay? So I don't use, behavioral kinesiologists use the arm. Did you see them work with the arm response?
Yep.
Yep.
Right? So I don't do that because I want to get myself out of the picture, and I could never trust myself that there would be a differential pressure on the arm, right? So I was taught a procedure by Tapas Fleming, who's an acupuncturist and an energy healer, in which you use the head response. In other words, when I talk to a person and I get the sense that there's some resistance to getting over the problem, which now I think is the biggest problem in psychotherapy, the fact that patients don't do everything they can do in order to change. They resist changing, and Freud knew about that, not taking that away from him. But what he would do, he would analyze the resistance, which would take years and years and years. Whereas Roger Callahan, who developed these energy procedures, discovered that if you tap on your karate chop part while you make a particular statement, that frequently gets over your resistance, or what he calls reversals. Mm-hmm. So what happens now, I just wrote a big paper on that, on resistance. And so if I get the sense that people aren't doing the work in psychotherapy that they need to do, I give them a list of about 100 questions, okay? I want to get over the problem. I ask them to make the statement and allow their head to go yes or no, right? So I want to get over this problem. Yes, head response. It'll be good for me to get over this problem. Yes. I deserve to get over this problem. Very frequently, I get a no response. People have a very difficult time feeling that they deserve health and happiness. A friend of mine who's into energy work who is an energy healer. He gives workshops all over the country. And he asked the audience, how many of you want to be healthy and happy? Everybody raises their hand. Then he says, how many of you believe that you will be healthy and happy? He says 50 to 90% don't raise their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a belief system that we're carrying around on your subconscious level that either we don't deserve to be healthy and happy, or we won't be able to be healthy and happy, or we're afraid to be healthy and happy, or something bad will happen,
or
or
the world won't allow us, or the universe
but
won't
that's
permit.
That's because we get trained that way, though, from a child, right? So how do if you were to take a child right now, right, of let's say 4, 5, 6 years old, when they're just starting, some sort of schooling, right, and you start teaching them how to control, how to meditate, and how to control their subconscious. Would we be having these problems later on when we get older? Of course not.
I don't think. I think you're correct, and I would love every school system to start to teach kids how to sit there and quietly observe their mind and meditate and try to understand that their thoughts are just thoughts. Okay, they don't have to believe it. In fact, in my office, I have 2 sayings. One is, "Don't believe everything you think." That's one saying. The other is, "Let go or be dragged." That's an AA, a little message. Because we hold on to all sorts of painful things and painful beliefs, okay? And as long as we hold on to them rather than letting them go through forgiveness, through acceptance, through taking a moral inventory that AA suggests, we can't let go of some of the painful beliefs that cause us painful emotions.
Of course.
And so that's where I am now with the emotional freedom techniques.
That's very interesting. It's funny that people would they're built by their surroundings and they're built by their environment. I think there was a scientist, I can't remember the name of the video, but there was a scientist who was talking about having cells in 3 petri dishes, and depending upon what solution or what he put in the petri dish, is it could form they could form skin cells, or it could form bone, or it could form
Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief.
Absolutely brilliant stuff.
Brilliant.
He was coming out with the environment basically has that effect.
Right.
And we have the environment around us with the political systems and religious systems and identification and our guidelines for life and our moral outlook. Jacques Fresco said something that I found was very interesting. He said, if you said there were some missionaries that went to deep in the jungle and they were talking to the headhunters there, and one of the missionaries said to the headhunter, he said, "Don't you feel bad that you've got 4 shrunken heads on your belt?" And the headhunter said, "Of course I feel bad. My brother has 20.
Right. Right. That's right. Yes. So this is where I am in my work. I combine transactional analysis with cognitive behavior therapy and energy work with family therapy. I was trained at the Mental Research Institute, where this guy Haley, who I mentioned earlier, originally trained, was on the staff. And so I'm a supervisor in family therapy now, because I know the system, I know the environment affects the belief system of their children. Okay,
right.
And so I'm interested in that. Yes.
Well, I mean, I find it in my practice, and most of my clients, when they come in with a problem, usually there's many other problems that don't come out right in the beginning, then come out much later, and finding the core problem that may have caused whatever the effect that they have now, can predate maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
Well, that's an interesting problem in our field, because most of us do not work with contracts. Now, a contract is, what is it that you're here for? What is it that you want to change about your life? Okay, Now, even though I think you're correct that even though a person might say, this is what I want to alter, my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, it may be that as they do that, other things open up, which then requires a redefinition of your contract. So we originally said you wanted to get over your fear of heights. Fine. We've done that. Now, is there anything else you want to that concerns you? Or we'll terminate our therapy right then, okay? And usually there are other things that people want to work on, but they didn't define when they came in. But that's a contractual thing. That's the ethical basis. That's the basis of what I consider an ethical practice of psychotherapy, and that is to do effective work as efficiently as you possibly can. And as Eric Burns said many years ago, if you can cure a patient in one session, that's what you should do.
Of course.
And then if you don't cure them in one session, you should spend the rest of your week figuring out how to do it in the next session. So that's a sort of motto for me, to work effectively and efficiently, because that's the ethical way to work.
Of course. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you now, and I'm not sure if this is an area that, of expertise, but people that have had experience in the UFO type realities, whether they've seen things or they had experiences with the abduction phenomenon and such, what have you come across much of that in your practice?
No, I have not. My nephew, who Scott talked to me about, and maybe you did too. Alan has been into UFO, things for people. Now, people who come to me don't mention UFOs. Now, I don't know why. Maybe because I haven't had the good fortune of meeting those people who do believe in UFOs. But that has never been, in my 46 years, a concern that I can remember someone bringing in.
But I mean, I'm not necessarily talking UFOs, but I mean any other unusual. I mean, most of the time psychiatrists will always call it schizophrenia, but people that have had some kind of strange, seeing strange things or feeling
paranormal experience, possession,
whatever you want to put it as.
I don't generally see psychotic people. They don't generally call me up and say, I want to come in. Now, it may be that they are psychotic and we discover that afterwards, but I don't see people who come in and say, this family that I see, they have this psychotic daughter who hears and voices, etc., but she refuses to come in. I said, Liz, why don't you, I asked her once when she came in with the family, I'd love to talk to you more about your experiences, but she doesn't want psychotherapy. She wants to go for her medication, okay? And that's what she does. She gets medicated by a psychiatrist, and it's driving the parents crazy, so I work with the parents about how to deal with this kid of theirs who seems not to want to get healthy. What are they supposed to do about that?
In a sense of perception, though, if a person were to come to you and said, I've had, this weird experience in the middle of the night where I saw, these little bug-eyed little guys, how would you consider that?
That's interesting. So why are you coming to me about that? I would say, what is it that you want from me that you're telling me about that? Okay.
Well, let's say I'm going to say to you that I need help. And you're a psychiatrist, you got to help me out.
Well, I'm a psychologist. Help you out how? I mean, so you have these experiences with UFOs, so what's your problem? I don't know what your problem is. So if you have these experiences,
Fear.
Oh, you're afraid. Oh,
Yeah.
what specifically are you afraid of?
These individuals.
What are you afraid? What is there about them that you're afraid of? What about these individuals
I'm
that
afraid
scares you?
I'm afraid they may kill me, they may injure me, they may...
Okay. Now, do you want to get over that fear?
Yes.
Well, okay, we can get over the fear by desensitization so that you can have experiences with these people without being afraid. Now, you can't do anything about these people appearing to you, but you can get over your fear of these people. Now, if you want to get over your fear, I'll be happy to help you. But I can't do anything about these people appearing to you.